Well, good evening, everyone, and I welcome you to our December 15th meeting of the Creeks Restoration and Water Quality Improvement Citizens Advisory Committee. And I'd like to begin with a call to order, which this is, followed by our roll call, which I will ask Ms. Hollywood to conduct, please.
Thank you, Chair Gaskin. So I will call Ms. Gaskin.
Present.
Ms. Weber.
Present.
Ms. Owens.
Present.
Ms. Silva.
Present.
Ms. Rizzo is absent.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I'd like to move to approval of minutes from October 20, 2021. And we have those minutes in our agenda. And the recommendation for motion is that we approve the minutes at the special meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Betsy. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sophia. I think that was Sophia, yes. Okay, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please unmute and indicate with your vote. All in favor?
So Ms. Gaskin.
Yes.
Ms. Weber.
Hi. I'm sorry, we're going through. Roll call, okay.
Aye.
Ms. Owens.
Aye.
Ms. Silva.
Aye.
Thank you. And then I just wanted to let you know that our liaison, Kristen Snedden, has joined our meeting. So we can welcome her.
And welcome, Kristen. We are delighted again that you are joining us as the liaison with City Council. So we welcome you warmly.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Cameron, are there any agenda adjustments?
No.
Okay. And Ms. Hollywood, are there any public comments that you have received?
There are currently no members of the public in attendance.
Thank you. And we'll move on to item 6. And looking at committee members first, are there any committee member announcements or communication?
Madam Chair, if I could jump in. Since our last meeting, we have had 2 new City Council appointees to the committee. Chris Klein and Lee Heller were both appointed to the committee on December 7th. I think just to answer a question that popped into my head a few minutes ago, I think technically you 2 may not be officially on the committee until January, which is why you weren't called in the roll call. I'm not positive about that, but I think that's the way it works. But we're really, really glad you're here tonight. And so I wanted to welcome Mr. Klein and Ms. Heller to the committee. And if we could just take a few minutes to go through and allow all of the committees to introduce, all of the committee members to introduce themselves so that even though we're not in person, we get a chance to get to know each other a little bit better as a group. And I don't know if we want to start with you, Madam Chair, and work our way from some of our existing committee members to our new ones. So maybe why don't we start there? And
all right. I again extend a very warm welcome to this committee. It is a committee that is very vibrant in terms of understanding and overseeing the myriad things that the Creeks Division does. And we are always in awe of the work and contributions of the staff within the division. And it's just a remarkable experience. I serve as chair, and I've been on this committee several years. I can't recall precisely. And I am retired as president of Santa Barbara City College. Welcome. And let's just go vice chair. Betsy, you want to go next?
Sure. Hello, I'm Betsy Weber, and I've been on this committee for a number of years as well. I've lost count, but it's a pleasure to be part of the committee. And mostly I'm just constantly blown away from the work of the staff. So it's an honor to help support them in their work and be part of this. During the day, I work for the Environmental Defense Center as the assistant director, so I get an opportunity to work with a lot of these people on other issues as well. So thank you and welcome, Lee and Chris.
And Sophia, I'll just go along my screen, please.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I attended Santa Barbara City College actually while Lori was the president. She was the president while I was attending there, which is kind of fun. And then transferred to UCSB and majored in poli-sci and environmental studies. So this felt like a good next step for me. And then I've been working at a startup downtown, very close to City Council for about 4 years, and I manage a lot of stuff there, but also all of their impact and corporate responsibility and environmental stuff. So that's what I do during the day, and just super stoked to be on this committee. It'll be my 3rd year this year, and great work from everyone involved. It's really great to be a part of it, and welcome new members.
Penny?
Well, hello, everyone. Penny Owens here. And I, too, have lost count of the number of years that I have been lucky enough to be part of this committee. But I believe I'm in my 2nd appointment through the city council process. So you could probably work backwards and get there. And just to echo many of the committee members, it's an honor to serve and to support all the great work of the Creeks Division. And really, I just feel like a lot of it is just, spreading the word about the work that they're doing, and really supporting the work and being an advocate for their work and their efforts when the time comes up with the council or with specific projects and things like that. So welcome to Chris and Lee. Excited to have you join us. And during the daytime, I work for Santa Barbara Channel Keeper, so a small community here. And I've been lucky enough to work with many folks on this call over the years through that capacity as well. Thanks.
Penny, thank you. Lee, would you like to share just a bit about yourself for the committee?
Yes, Chair Gaskin, thank you very much. Again, apologies that my camera is non-functional. I'm Lee Heller, former college professor, although not at City College. I did teach a course there many years ago. A longtime environmental activist. I've been on and off the Environmental Defense Center board for about a decade, and have worked very closely with Betsy. And also worked with Cameron, although I wasn't on the board when he was the executive director there. And I've been on the board of Get Oil Out and the Santa Barbara County Action Network. And this is the committee, this is the committee that just sounded like the committee you wanted to be on if you wanted to serve the city and you're an environmentalist. And I moved back into the city about a year ago after living in the county for 18 years. So I thought I might be eligible, and I'm delighted to be here. Thank you all so much.
Hearty welcome. And Chris.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone for the warm welcome. My name is Chris Klein. I am relatively new to Santa Barbara, having moved here about 13 months ago. My day job, as you say, is as general manager of the Kimpton Canary Hotel, downtown Santa Barbara. I am a career hotel person and have been involved in hotels and restaurants for quite a long time. Enjoyed a lot. We have a wonderful team here. I feel very welcomed by Santa Barbara and have found yet another opportunity to try to become an integral part of the community in this way. So just very excited to have been accepted for this position and to be with all of you. And my perspective is I have a great deal to learn, and it sounds like with all of your experience, I have that opportunity in front of me. So thanks again for the opportunity, and look forward to how I can contribute.
Chris, thank you. And not only welcome to the committee, welcome to the city. We are
Thanks.
truly delighted to have you. And Cameron, did you want staff and as well as Kristen, or what's your pleasure as far as introductions?
Well, sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Snedden, would you like to say hello and do a brief introduction?
Sure, thank you. I'm really so grateful when members such as yourselves of the community come forward and volunteer your time. And as Lee said, this really is the committee, the place to be. I mean, so much important work is done here, and you are all doing such important work in the community otherwise. And so bringing that perspective here is so important. And then in my day job, I teach at City College also. So the City College connection is pretty strong here, but it's always so great to join in this committee. Thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. And Madam Chair, if I could just do a couple more introductions, and then I have a thank you also. And I'd like to first start off by introducing myself. I'm Cameron Benson, and I'm the Creeks Division Manager. I've been in this position now for about 14 and a half years, and I just love it. It's a dream job for me, and I love being able to work with this committee. I think it's this was part of the setup of the Creeks Division when it was first established. Creeks Division was established, as all of you know, through a voter-approved measure that was on the ballot in November of 2000. And one of the things that was really important to the City Council when this measure was placed on the ballot was that there be a citizen oversight of the Creeks Division and its functions, and in particular to ensure that the 2% hotel bed tax that was passed with that measure was that those funds were spent in accordance with what the voters were told back in November of 2000, and that the money was going to be used for a special fund for the purposes of creek and ocean water quality improvement and creek restoration efforts. And so we really are careful to do that and to honor that commitment to the voters from back in November. But that's a significant part of what this committee does, and why the City Council goes through the interview process and selects committee members to fulfill that role. So it's really important to us, and we enjoy working with all of you. And so I want to make sure that all of you feel welcome to contact me anytime you have any questions, but also the entire Creeks Division staff is available to you for any kind of questions about things that we're working on. And so I also wanted to introduce Jen Hollywood. You've had correspondence from Jen, and a lot of you know her, but for Lee and Chris, Jen is our administrative specialist for the Creeks Division, and she takes care of all things coordinating with regard to the committee. So if you have any questions, or you're having any kind of issues with as we're doing these electronic meetings, Jen is your go-to person, and she'll be able to help facilitate all of that. And then you'll meet a couple of our staff members tonight who will be giving presentations. Dr. Jill Murray is our water quality research analyst, and Liz Smith is our Creeks Outreach and Education Coordinator, and both of them will be giving presentations this evening. So you'll get to hear from them directly. And then the last thing I wanted to say is this is our final meeting of the year, and as such, we normally adjourn our meeting and have a little reception where we thank and celebrate all of you for your volunteerism and your civic engagement and your time and commitment to this committee and to this program. And so because we're not able to be together and have that reception, Jen has been out to visit all of you, and thank you, Jen, for doing that with with hopefully some nice holiday treats or welcome treats for you, Lee, and you, Chris. But we really do appreciate all of your time and your commitment to the city. And so it's just a time for us to thank you on behalf of the city and on behalf of the Creeks Division for your participation in this program. It's really, really valuable to all of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and your entire staff is very kind. We appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, any other committee member or staff communication? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 7. And I believe, Cameron, you would like to speak to this?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So in December of every year, the committee elects or nominates and elects the vice chair for the committee. And that person serves in the role of vice chair starting in January and for the remainder of the calendar year. Our current Dr. Gaskin is our current chair. Betsy Weber is our current vice chair. I don't know if we have any members who are interested in serving as vice chair in the coming year. If you are, please feel free to, if you are interested, please feel free to turn on your camera and give me a wave so I know that. Not seeing any cameras turning on. So, and that is not uncommon. So for Lee and Chris, you know, the vice chair position is basically one that takes over if the chair is unable to attend a meeting, can speak on behalf of the committee if in public if the chair is unable to make a meeting, say to a city council meeting, for example, to speak. And our normal practice is for the vice chair to take over as chair starting in the January meeting of the subsequent year. I did have a discussion with Betsy and Lori earlier this week or last week to ask, what do we do in the event nobody really wants to serve as vice chair in the coming year? We don't get any volunteers. And both of them graciously offered to stay in their positions for another year. And so that's certainly an option for the committee. This is one of the things I'm doing all the talking, but this is really up to the committee. Both of them have done an excellent job as the committee members know. And so if you all want to stick with the status quo for another year, that is perfectly okay. It's within the rules, and you can go ahead and do that. I think I see Lee's got a hand raised.
I do indeed. Thank you, Cameron. I'm always willing, as Betsy will tell you, to volunteer for things, but I'm not even officially a member yet. So I don't think I'm in a position to do that. And if Lori and Betsy are willing to continue, I'm happy to support that.
Okay. I mean, again, it's at the will of the committee. I think that's probably all. That's a wise, you know, a wise position to take, Lee. I know you're experienced with these kinds of things in board meetings, but maybe you've got your hand raised for next year. We'll be back in this same exact spot. And that would be wonderful. So, so if the other committee members feel the same way, this is on our agenda for action, and so it would require a motion and a second, and then a vote to go ahead and
to clarify, would it be a motion to retain Betsy as vice chair and me as chair, even though the agenda item says election of vice chair?
I think you would be retained as chair just by virtue of being in that position already. It's on the agenda as the election of the vice chair, so we should probably look for a motion to elect Betsy as, or re-elect Betsy as the vice chair, and then do a second and vote on that.
Okay. Is there a motion to re-elect Betsy Weber as vice chair?
I'll motion that.
Thank you, Sophia. Is there a second?
I am happy to second that and just want to thank both of you for staying in those positions for another year.
I think I can speak for both of us. It's our pleasure. Okay, there's a second. Any discussion? And Lee, I thank you so much for tossing your hat in as at your first, well, at your pre-meeting. So thank you so much.
We'll remember that next year, Lee.
Yeah. Okay, all in, oh, I'm sorry, we need a roll call vote.
Sorry. Okay, so we have Chair Gaskin, or Cameron, would she abstain?
I think she votes. It's
Oh
just
wait,
for the
she
vice
votes.
chair.
It would be
Mhm.
Betsy that would abstain.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chair Gaskin
Aye.
and Miss Owens,
Aye.
Miss Weber,
I abstain.
and Miss Silva.
Aye.
Thank you.
So that carries, and we have a vice chair of Betsy Weber. Thank you, Betsy, so very much. And as well, I appreciate the expression of confidence for both of us. All right, moving on to business items, and we have 3. And I'd like to begin with our fiscal year 2021 water quality research and monitoring program summary. This is always something we look forward to. And I'll defer to Cameron to introduce Jill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'd like to introduce Dr. Jill Murray, who is our Water Quality Research Coordinator, and she will give a couple presentations every year to the committee. This is a presentation on our fiscal year 2021 Water Quality Research and Monitoring Program. And Jill does this presentation generally at the end of the year, usually in December, letting you know, giving the committee a summary of all of our research and monitoring program results for the prior fiscal year. So I will turn it over to Dr. Murray.
Thank you, Cameron. I just want to make sure that you can see my full slides because I can't see what you can see.
We can.
Okay, perfect. Excuse me. Yeah, when I present to the committee twice a year, it kind of leapfrogs because in June, I seek your approval for our research plan for the coming fiscal year, but then in December, now I'm presenting results from the previous fiscal year. So the outline of the way I'll do this is give a little bit of background on that fiscal year 21 research plan, which you approved in June. Well, you would have approved in June 2020 without COVID. Go over some of the sections of what we did that year, talking about beach warnings, Laguna Channel studies, and microplastics, and then finish with the next steps for the rest of the year and what you can expect to see next. So and I have geared this presentation towards the new members. So I'll be going over some things that I know some of the committee members have heard numerous times, but in some cases we haven't talked about it for a while. So just be patient, please. And for those who are used to thinking about water quality or stormwater, our fiscal year, we could also say that's the water year. So this was our 2021 water year. It was similar to our research plan for FY21 was similar to FY20. And we held it steady because of COVID. So I didn't come to the committee meetings were canceled at that time. And so we just rolled over the plan, except for that mid-year, we had the opportunity to add microplastics, which I'll talk about. And so this year, like last year, we did have COVID impacts continue. We did have some reduced sampling due to not being able to share our workspace as easily and some staff limitations. We also hired our new code enforcement officer, Natalie Tees. You'll hear from her soon. She's been a really wonderful asset to our department. It's great to have her. So, but we didn't have someone out doing the weekly sampling. We had to juggle a bit there for a few months while we transitioned. We had watershed stewards who were also doing some of the weekly sampling. And we had some UCSB contracted work, but that was delayed due to COVID. All of their sampling has been completed, but they're still having trouble getting some of their reagents due to the supply chain. Potential water quality impacts that have been talked about due to COVID are the human waste and trash from increased encampments along the creeks. But the entire city and Natalie Tees and Chris Clark in particular did such a really good job with addressing the cleanups on a weekly basis. So we don't have any data there, but I think that it did not necessarily impact water quality. Okay, so this really is background for our water quality monitoring and research program. What are our motivations? We're developing strategies for water quality improvement and really trying to help the division prioritize projects and programs. And that includes ruling out some projects and programs as well. And also communicate effectively with you all and the public about water quality. And I'm really addressing this to the committee and the new members. We take input from other city staff, the scientific community, CAC committee members, water board and residents. And you know, my email's open to any communication if you want to discuss any water quality topics. And then designing our actual sampling plan, our goals are to understand the levels of pollutants that are in our creeks and discharging to the ocean. Then once we know what's there, we want to evaluate the impacts. So we compare the levels that we're finding with known thresholds of toxicity to aquatic organisms. We also want to evaluate how well our projects are doing and collect baseline data for future projects. We want to, any pollutants that we know that are causing a problem, we then want to find what the sources of those pollutants are, how they're getting into the creeks. We are always trying to evaluate long-term trends in water quality. We often have to do monitoring as a requirement for some of our grants that we're receiving. And we also have required monitoring for our stormwater permit that we have. We have a permit that we have to have this permit approved to discharge stormwater to the ocean. And so that comes with certain monitoring requirements. And then we also use monitoring to investigate Clean Water Act impairments that are identified by the State Water Board. And we develop a list of questions, driving questions and sampling strategies within a sampling table that's organized around these 6 topic areas. Like I said, our grant project requirements, our general permit requirements, an overall watershed assessment questions, our storm monitoring, our restoration and project assessment, and our source tracking. Source tracking is finding out where those pollutants are coming from. Okay, so that was the background on the what we were up to this year without going into the actual details of the sampling schedules. One of the areas that I want to give you some information about is beach water quality, because that was of interest the past year. So this is really background, and I'm going to start from the beginning. So we have the topic of beach warnings. This is because the county, all counties in the state are required by a state law, which you might hear the jargon AB 411, to sample the ocean weekly. The requirement is from April 1st to October 31st, and that gets called the AB 411 season. But our county samples all year, and it's at, I think, about 20 different beaches in the county and 4 within the city. It's Arroyo Burro, East Beach at Mission Creek, East Beach at Sycamore Creek, and Ledbetter. So they are required to collect the samples and send them to a lab that analyzes the samples for fecal indicator bacteria. I'm going to go into what that means a little bit more, but the categories are total coliform, fecal coliform, and enterococcus. And there are criteria in the state law. And if those are exceeded, then a warning is posted, and is posted physically at the beach. All of the beaches that are assessed have a wooden placard where the warnings are posted, but also the county carries it on their website, and some of the newspapers have and websites have also carried it as well. And that data is also used by the state and regional water boards for assessing water quality under their Clean Water Act requirements. And these can lead to regulatory actions such as what another jargon term is TMDL, which is basically a set of rules coming with an implementation plan of a jurisdiction or combination of jurisdictions have to take a bunch of actions to try to improve the water quality. So the fecal indicator bacteria data collection and understanding of it can have wide consequences for beach users and the city. So there are several issues with fecal indicator bacteria, and this is known worldwide, but they're still used. It's still used as a water quality assessment tool. So fecal indicator bacteria are always present in sewage in high numbers. They're in human waste, and in some sectors, it's used really effectively to learn whether there's any contamination. For example, drinking water, you shouldn't have any fecal indicator bacteria in drinking water. It would signify a problem. But for beach water quality, it's a problem because there are so many fecal indicator bacteria present, because they're also present in animal waste and wildlife. And they can even grow in the environment. So they're not specific enough to really say when you have human waste present. And it's human waste that is known to cause a potential human health risk. And that was really the start of the Creeks Division, was really focused on a lot of beach warnings. We had some El Nino years, and very little was known about this topic. We just knew there were a ton of fecal indicator bacteria and why and what did it mean. But we now know generally the fecal indicator bacteria themselves are not pathogens, and most pathogens are not indicator bacteria. And they don't necessarily correlate well with health risk in urban beach environments. And so there's been a search for better tools. We happen to be in very close proximity to one of the world's experts in the topic of finding better tools, Dr. Trish Holden at UCSB. And so we've worked with her almost since the beginning of the Creeks Division. And she's developed and tested and used and advanced numerous molecular and DNA-based tools. And I used to not put up this little bit of jargon, but I think you probably all know now the term qPCR. She's been using qPCR to look for strands of specific DNA that are connected to bacteria that are specific to human waste and other animal waste like gulls and dogs for several years now. And so using those tools to figure out if we have the fecal indicator bacteria, which types of animal hosts are contributing and supplying that to the ocean environment. And once you know that, how is it getting there? So they have found it's now a real body of research that she's done, and I've shared with you over the years. It feels very incremental as it's going along, but then you see like, wow, okay, there's been a real, we've solved some really vexing problems, and her manuscripts have really contributed to the literature and understanding. So we know that here in Santa Barbara, for fecal indicator bacteria, birds are the predominant source at the beach, followed by dogs. We don't think that any of the beach warnings are caused by human waste or high levels of sewage contamination at all. And we know that bird waste and dog waste, although not pleasant, does not carry nearly anywhere close to the health risk that untreated human waste would carry. However, over the years, her lab has found consistent low levels of the human waste marker in the surf zone and the near shore. And we've really scratched our heads for years about this. Where is this coming from? she got a really large amount of money from the State Water Board to study this, and along with Geosyntec, the consultant. And over that time, they ruled out numerous sources. The amount of work they did was extensive. And now it's really clear that we have an urban signal from swimmers themselves and from currents from treated wastewater effluents. The concentrations are very low. They're not indicative of any kind of elevated human health risk. And this really is, should really solve this head scratching problem. And this two recent publications just came out this summer. And these are peer reviewed. And there's another manuscript in preparation from her lab. And similar results have just been found in other locations. And this has some pretty interesting policy implications, because if we were to receive a bacteria TMDL, meaning we had to really try to lower levels of fecal indicator bacteria, one of our options is to propose that we understand the sources of the fecal indicator bacteria here. But it's been accepted that you can't do that if you have any of these specific signals of human waste. And so many communities have been told really they still need to use the fecal indicator bacteria. They can't develop specific criteria because they've excluded natural sources. Now this kind of argues back and says, well, we actually have this urban signal that it's a low level that we're never going to get rid of that. This is just, it's not a health risk. It's just what's there. The same way if you went and swiped handles at a grocery store, you'd find some human waste markers, I'm sure, or in a public bathroom. So I'm really proud of the Creeks Division to be working with Dr. Holden on all this research and contributing. I think it's really valuable work. And then moving on from there, and I know this is complicated and it's a lot. Oh, here's just a graphic of thinking about swimming. You know, if you're in a, I think there are many more crowded beaches throughout the world, but this is a crowded Southern California beach. Okay, and now I'm going to share a little bit more of the research that we've done in the past year. We are still doing source tracking studies in Laguna Channel. We have found signals of, for several years, Laguna Channel is coming down here. We've sampled here in dry weather. This is right where the storm drain network comes out under the freeway. And we have found some of Dr. Holden's signals of human waste. We've also done some wet weather sampling down here recently in FY21 and found chemical signals of potential sewage contamination. So we've got, it's a class of compounds called contaminants of emerging concern. They're useful for tracing wastewater, but they're also indicative of a potential ecotoxicity problems that we can be contributing. So some of the compounds that we've tested for are known problems for ecotoxicity. This is galaxolide is a fragrance, oxybenzone is in sunscreen. These TCPP and TCEP are flame retardants. And we've also got some of the pesticides that I've talked about extensively. And so this year for FY22, you approved this in June. We are we're going up the storm drain network and trying to figure out, we're taking both the human waste marker samples and the chemical samples at the same time, same place, and really trying to figure out if we can find the sources. Microplastics, I've talked to you about the microplastics, and I'm not going to go into all the details because I'm running up on my time limit here, but I wanted to point out that we have, we're partnering with UCSB, and we've finished our, we've done our first storm sampling. They found extensive microplastics in Laguna Channel and Mission Creek, and we're doing additional sampling to try to figure out more about that. We've sampled street sweeper debris because what we really want to get at is to see if street sweeping can reduce the input of microplastics into the creeks and then into the ocean. And if you were not able to catch the Creeks Creek Week forum that the students from UCSB did a Zoom, it's recorded on the SB Creek's YouTube channel. They did an excellent job. If you want to know, it's probably about 45 minutes. If you want to know more about what we're doing, I highly recommend you go and watch that one. And finish up by just going over the next steps. It's finishing the report from last year and making that available on our website. We're also carrying out the FY22 research plan. I'll just remind you that we really paused this year and said, we've done this for 20 years. Let's reset, think about what we need to do going forward. And so we kind of scaled down some of our monitoring to our most essential sampling. We're focusing on the Laguna watershed, as I mentioned. And then we're also trying to move forward with designing what we need to have basically wired creeks, get as much automated equipment as we think we need out there. And that'll be, some of the creeks are already monitored by USGS and some are not. And we need to add more, we want to understand like the estuaries more, and this will really play into the sea level rise studies. And I can talk more about that another time. And also between now and June, developing the FY 2023 research plan, and then come back to you in June and discuss that. And with that, I will take any questions.
I just want to comment to our new members and to the committee as a whole. This, Dr. Murray's presentation is indicative of the quality of the presentations that we always receive. They are so thorough and so clear, and as well, and you use the word, Jill, pride. There's a lot of pride to be had in all that you're doing with this water quality monitoring and the relationship, the very strong and positive and collegial relationship that you have long established with UCSB. So thank you. And committee members, any comments? Oh, Lee, please.
I just wanted to echo and say thank you for the clarity of that presentation. As a new committee member, I understood it. So really many thanks, Dr. Murray, for really clear and thorough and yet pretty brief.
Thank you, Committee Member Heller. It's tough because you really you're just unrolling a ball of yarn, and there's just so much jargon wrapped up in there. And I tried to just give the bare essentials, and then please again come back to me if there are any other questions over before our next meeting.
I wanted to echo. Oh, sorry, Lori. I wanted to echo what Lori and Lee both said. It was super clear, and I appreciate you going through every aspect of water quality. It was really nice to see it condensed together, and also thank you for referencing the outside things. I'm definitely going to go back and look at some of those resources. So thank you for that, and thanks for your work with UCSB.
Thank you. I think that was Committee Member Silva speaking. It was hard for me to tell. Okay, thank you.
And Doctor, this is Chris Klein, and just a follow-up question for you, and thank you, as others have thanked you for this presentation. If I understand part of your report clearly, you're saying that although there is some ability to use DNA to try to determine the source of the fecal indicator bacteria, that it is, in a sense, not completely available, or there's only so far it can go. Is that an accurate representation of what you meant?
Committee Member Klein, there are certain questions that we can answer definitively. We can say what type of host the indicator bacteria are from. So is it from seagull waste? Is it from dog waste? Is it from human waste? That's the first part of the source tracking. The second part is the actual tracking part. How does it actually get there? And in the case of gull or dog walking, it can be pretty obvious. But for the human waste, it's a lot trickier to figure out. And I can point you to some of our past work. We've we did a huge amount of work 2008 to 2010, and we went and opened dozens and dozens of manholes, and we put cameras down in. We brought sewage sniffing dogs. We did dye studies. It was really tricky to figure out where there is a leak in miles of buried pipes. The study that I mentioned that Dr. Holden and Geosyntec did, and we assisted, where they ruled out a bunch of hypotheses. They put, for example, they would go along and put dye in all of the beach bathrooms, and then put monitoring wells in the beach sand and look for that dye over time. It's evidence of absence absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. So sometimes you just don't know how far to keep looking to say we've ruled out a potential source. But then we've also had some times where we know exactly where we found a problem, and as soon as we have something specific, the wastewater and public works, they fix it immediately if it's connected to any of their infrastructure.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation. And a quick follow-up: were these indicators of fecal indicator bacteria higher in the last fiscal year, or if you will, over the COVID pandemic period, than they have been in prior years?
That is such a good question. And no, we have not seen evidence of it being higher during COVID. There was some press around a beach bummer listing for East Beach, and we went back and looked at that data, and that was from storm data before COVID or at the very beginning, and it wasn't related to any kind of increase in encampments or anything like that. And I just looked at the data, the beach data from this past year and a half, and it's actually hasn't been higher at all.
Great, thank you so much again.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, I would just add one thing towards Mr. Klein's question about the DNA testing. I mean, across the state, they use the fecal indicator bacteria testing because it's relatively inexpensive and a fairly quick turnaround. So you can get results in 24 hours. So it's very imperfect, but it's cheap and quick. And so so that's really, I think, why the state uses that as an indicator. The DNA testing gives us, exactly the information we're looking for. And as a matter of public health, we're really focused. Our highest priority is eliminating any source of human waste that's getting into our creek or ocean water, because that is likely to cause the greatest health risk for the public. So, so that DNA data is super valuable to us, but there's not, but it's very expensive, and it's a long turnaround time to get your sample and get your data. Too long to be valuable to turn around and suggest to people that they don't go in the water, for example. So I think, Jill, there might be one commercial lab, maybe there are more now in the United States that does that, but we happen to have a research institution right here that has that ability, but it's a long turnaround time, so it's not really a practical tool yet to use for that.
Yeah, that's true, Cameron. And there is a company in Santa Clarita who is developing a benchtop system, and we are first in line to buy that as soon as it comes out, because that's a way that we could collect samples and get results back. They wouldn't be exactly the same as the numbers that we've received from UCSB, but I think it would be a very useful tool. And we get results back in several hours, and they were absolutely swamped by COVID because they made benchtop systems for qPCR for COVID, and they've kept pushing back when they think it'll be available, and just got an email saying spring, and think, if we have another big surge, it could be even longer. So I'm impatiently awaiting.
Thank you. Lee, please.
Cameron, can you be a little more specific about how long the turnaround time is on those DNA test results?
Well, I'll turn it over to Dr. Murray to give us the state of the science on that right now. It used to, I mean, it used to be subject to the research lab schedule, but many weeks. I don't know what the shortest turnaround time is now.
Yeah, well, I think if we did use that one commercially available lab, we might be able to send samples and get them back in, I don't know, probably 2 to 4 weeks, similar to our other outsourced samples that we send off. When we work with Dr. Holden, she tends to run it more like a research project. So we'll usually collect samples from several dates, and they'll run not just that test, but a suite of tests that they like to do. And then she usually provides us the results in a report. So I would say, that's usually on the order of months.
So in other words, several weeks to get a turnaround on a DNA sample compared to 24 hours for the lab bacteria, indicator bacteria results. So again, for us, what we use it for is tracking those sources. So that, I mean, Dr. Murray and a group of researchers several years back got a state grant and literally wrote the book on how to use that technology to find sources of human waste getting into surface water and into beaches in coastal cities in California. And so we have all of that background, and now part of what she was describing tonight was advancing that that type of research even further, so that we can more effectively eliminate any of those potential sources. So it's a great tool for us to use for tracking sources and eliminating sources of that kind of contamination, but not a great one to turn around and warn the public with about something that's happening right now.
Once again, thank you so much. Well done. We appreciate it. And one of our stellar programs. Thank you.
Thank you all, and happy holidays. And I just have to say, this is my first presentation that does not include Lee Moldiver on the committee. And so I'm really missing him right now.
Jill, yeah, we all are. And he would be the first to sing your praises with a deep sense of appreciation and a breadth of knowledge. So thank you.
It was wonderful.
Yes,
okay.
Indeed, we all miss him. Next up, we have our Education and Outreach Program update, which is always one of our favorite. They all are, but hearing what Liz does is really inspiring. And so Cameron, do you want to introduce Liz?
Sure, just quickly. As I mentioned earlier, Liz Smith is our Outreach and Education Coordinator for the Creeks Division, and she just does an amazing range of outreach efforts for the Creeks Division and public education efforts to improve water quality. She's really, really good at her job, and she does this presentation for the committee once a year just to update you on what she has been working on for the previous 12 months. So Ms. Smith, you can take it away.
Thank you, Cameron. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. And it's actually been about 2 years since I've been to the committee, so I'm happy to be here and give you an update on what I've been doing. So we will jump right in. So our Creeks Division Education and Outreach programs are guided by the city's stormwater management program. That's our state permit that Jill mentioned. We also have a Creeks Division public education plan, which hasn't been updated in several years, and I would like to update that and work with the Education and Outreach Subcommittee, which you will be appointing early in the new year. And also we do public awareness surveys about every 5 years. And our most recent survey was in 2018. And so we'll be going back out to talk to the community in 2023 for another survey. Our youth watershed education programs are mostly provided through a contract with Explore Ecology. And this is a free program to schools within the city. we reached almost 2,700 students in FY20, almost 2,600 students in FY21. And normally the program includes in-class presentations, field trips to a local creek, to the Watershed Resource Center, and the students participate in a cleanup at Arroyo Burro Beach. So with the pandemic, Explore Ecology just did an awesome job pivoting to online presentations. They were joining students in their Zoom classrooms. They were providing virtual field trips of creeks and the beach and the Watershed Resource Center. And they also distributed cleanup kits to students through the teachers so that the kids could clean up in their own neighborhoods and track the data and provide that data back to Explore Ecology. So now that students are back at school, they are being allowed to provide some in-class presentations to some of the classes. Field trips are still a little tricky, I think, for some schools. So we're still doing kind of in-class and virtual presentations. And Creeks Division staff, we also, upon request, are happy to provide presentations and field trips and project tours to any teachers in the area. Community events are normally a big part of our program. We're usually at the Looking Good Santa Barbara Community Cleanup event, the Harbor and Seafood Festival, City College's Earth Day Festival, and of course, Community Environmental Council's Earth Day Festival. And we were not able to participate in 2020, but this year we did. The city hosted a virtual booth and several city departments participated, and the Creeks Division hosted we staffed a live Q&A session. So community members were able to come in and chat with Cameron and I. So that was a fun one. And then our big annual event is Creek Week, and that just took place in September. It's coordinated by the Creeks Division, County Project Clean Water, the City of Goleta, the City of Carpinteria, UCSB, and Explore Ecology. And then many other organizations in town also host events. And so we promote Creek Week through our website, sbcreekweek.com. We have a Facebook page dedicated to the event. We publish the full schedule of events in the Independent, Voice Magazine, Coastal View News, TV and radio, online, social media. We mail postcards, the city's water bill insert that goes out to 20,000+ water customers, city water customers, so we can get content in there. We have our email newsletter, the City News in Brief newsletter that goes out every week. And then we also ask event organizers and hosts to not only promote their own event throughout the week, but the whole event, the whole Creek Week event. So we look to those folks to share. And the past couple years, of course, we haven't been in person as much as we would normally be, but we tried to offer a lot of really fun activities. So we kick off with Coastal Cleanup Day every year. And the past couple of years, it's kind of expanded into Coastal Cleanup Month, and folks have been invited on the day of, but also just the whole month to clean up their own neighborhoods, their favorite park, their favorite beach, and again, submit the data, excuse me, so that it can all be tracked. Jill mentioned the microplastics talk with her UCSB students. That was a really wonderful presentation. It is on our YouTube page. And we also came up with some DIY activities. So we had a cross stitch pattern. We had a storm drain chalk art contest, and we provided chalk to the community to get some participants in that, get people involved. We work with many volunteers, and of course that has slowed down the last couple of years, but it's kind of starting to pick up again. And groups that we've worked with over the last couple of years here have included LinkedIn, Urban Creeks Council, Nomad, which Sophia helped us arrange, committee member Silva, and The Big Speak, Herbal Distribution Systems, Kate School, Cole Morgan, and Bartran Real Estate Group. And we often have volunteers join us for creek and beach cleanups, planting events at our restoration sites, and storm drain marking events. We also administer the Coastal Commission's Adopt a Beach program at city beaches. And so I just wanted to highlight some of our longtime and recent beach adoption groups. So including Channel Keeper, Urban Creeks Council, the Starbucks Cliff Drive store, Right Scale, the Sea Center, Coast Guard, Invoca, and Phi Theta Kappa of City College. So our advertising, we do a lot of paid advertising throughout the year. We work with City TV, usually every other year, to produce new PSAs. And this year we did a TikTok inspired ad. And I'm going to play it for you. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it.
I can't hear it. I'm not sure if anyone else.
Oh, no.
No, I also can't hear it. I can see that
Okay.
there's no audio.
Bummer. Okay. You have to visit our YouTube page to watch it. But we had over 100 community volunteers come out and over 4 days of filming. We had original music, which is a really fun song that I'm sorry you can't hear at the moment, that was produced by a local musician, Zach Gill. We produced a variety of ads, 15-second, 30-second, and 60-second, multiple versions in English and Spanish to be used in different outlets. So the 30-second ads, of course, on TV and in both English and Spanish. The 15-second and 30 seconds have been great for online display ads and also pre-roll, where people have to watch our ad before they can watch the YouTube video or, you know, Amazon Prime Video or what have you. So really catching those cord cutters who are streaming. And then we also we used the song to create radio ads and the same tagline, which is "We're all the solution to water pollution." Okay, so we also made coordinating bus ads to be placed on the MTD buses. And we have the exterior ad on the bottom here, and that runs during the summer months. And there are actually a few of them still up right now. So if you see them around town, that's just bonus months that they've been left up, which is great for us. And the interior ads up here on the top right, since folks are on the bus longer than just watching a bus drive by, we add more content, we make them bilingual. There are multiple versions of these interior ads. And so some of them, like the one you see here, is really just focused on storm drain awareness, understanding that storm drains flow to the ocean. But we also have a variety of these ads that are talking about specific pollutants. We also work on community-based social marketing, so changing behaviors. And we are participating in a countywide project with all the other jurisdictions and County Project Clean Water. And it's called Our Water, Our World. And when we placed these displays in local hardware and garden centers, hardware stores and garden centers. And there was a staff training. So we trained the staff, if people are coming and asking about how to take care of ants in their house, they can come and bring them to this display and talk to them about using less toxic products. And so at the display, we have fact sheets about all these common pests. We have pocket guides, and then shelf talkers are little tags that are on the shelf right next to the price tag for a product. And it just kind of highlighting that it's a less toxic product that's better for our water quality. So our online, we of course have our website, sbcreeks.com. There's a ton of info available about our various projects and programs, about this committee. All of our printed outreach materials are available online, most of them in English and Spanish. We had 22,000 visits in FY21, which is quite a lot more. The past couple of years, we've averaged around 8,000. And our analytics showed that this big jump came in the previous year when we were updating stormwater requirements for development projects. And also, as Jill mentioned, when we hired our new code enforcement officer. And so we do tend to see a little jump when we have a job opening. We send out a monthly Creeks Division e-news. I hope you're all on it. We have over 930 subscribers, and we can also provide our information in the City News in Brief, which is a weekly email sent out by the City Administrator's Office. And that goes to over 2,000 subscribers, includes local press and city employees. We are active on social media. You can see our current numbers of social media followers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We post all of our PSAs and Inside Santa Barbara news segments, which is a news style program that City TV produces, and presentations like the microplastics presentation from Creek Week. And we also post events and meetings on Nextdoor, and we are, with our new TikTok inspired ads, we are venturing into TikTok. And you can find all of our accounts at SB Creeks. if you'd like to follow us on your favorite social media platform. So as the pandemic got started and we realized we weren't going to be able to hold many in-person events, we developed a series of presentations called Watershed Wednesdays, and we did most of them on Facebook Live. We hosted live restoration project tours of all of these project sites listed, sites that are maybe not always easy for folks to get to, like say the golf course, Upper Las Positas Creek restoration at the golf course. Unless you're a golfer, you might not get a chance to see that project. So we went out there, went on Facebook Live, and we could interact with the community live. They could ask us questions. We hosted creek walks at Oak Park and Rocky Nook Park. Jen hosted a fun craft project. Jill hosted watershed science activities and water quality presentations. And all of these, again, are on our YouTube page. And so that was just a really fun way to interact with community members when we couldn't see them in person. So we have a Clean Creeks certified business program, and we promote that program through community events during normal times again, mailings and print materials, through enforcement actions. If we get a call about a business doing a polluting activity and our code enforcement officer visits, it's great for us if we can educate them and get them to become a certified business and really help to protect our creeks and ocean. And then once a business is certified, we promote them in Food and Home Magazine, The Independent. We list them on our website. We promote them on our social media sites and in our email newsletter. And the business also receives a certificate signed by the mayor and a sticker to place at their place of business or display on their vehicle. And currently we have 173 businesses participating. And this, many of them have been longtime participants. And so every year in the Independence Earth Day issue, we post a 2-page spread so that folks who have been in the program a long time get another mention, get their name out in front of the community. So around our projects and programs, restoration projects and larger water quality improvement projects, there's a ton of outreach that goes on. We have community meetings, presentations to boards and commissions like you and Parks and Rec Commission and Council. We host project tours. Of course, we include it on the website, social media, email, the water billing insert again, postcard mailings to neighbors, press releases, wildlife, time-lapse 360-degree cameras, again, inside Santa Barbara news segments, ribbon cutting ceremonies, and we will often install interpretive signage. And finally, as mentioned before, the Creeks Division celebrated 20 years this year since it was established in 2001. And we produced a 20-year report to really highlight all of our accomplishments over the past 20 years. And rather than doing a printed report, we used Adobe Spark to create an online responsive report. And that just means that regardless of what screen you're on, it's going to work and look great. So whether you're on a desktop, this was a screen recording from my phone, or on a tablet, it's just going to look good. And we produced that in English and Spanish, both in the Adobe Spark format as well as a PDF format for those who would prefer to just look at it page by page instead of scrolling. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
And Liz, once again, it may have been 2 years, but we continue to be in awe of all that you do. Your program is so comprehensive and so creative. And I have seen some of those Watershed Wednesday things, and they're great. And of course, just everything that you touch and do. So much appreciation and thanks for your efforts. And I would entertain any comments or questions that the committee may have. Lee?
Thanks so much.
And again, I just want to say thank you for a really clear, comprehensive, and concise presentation too. As a new committee member, I really felt like I got an excellent overview. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Liz, this is Chris Klein. Thank you. I echo that. And I have a maybe embarrassing but transparent question. Is a Canary or a Finch and Fork part of the Clean Creeks certified business list? I couldn't make it out on my phone.
Committee member Klein, I don't believe so. We can definitely get you guys involved.
I'd love to be involved. If you could share that with me, I'd really appreciate it. Seems like a something we absolutely should endeavor to do.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo all the sentiments, Liz, of everyone else that they said. And I just wanted to say this year I specifically heard just people in my own community talking more about Creek Week and attending more events and just getting generally like very excited about it, reposting on social media. So I think all of the efforts you're doing are definitely being shown. So definitely be super proud of everything you're doing. And I'm really stoked you're using very like modern things like Adobe Spark and getting on TikTok. That's really, really cool. So thanks for everything.
Thanks so much, Committee Member Silva.
Indeed, I think that is something when I said comprehensive, you're in every medium, it seems like, to reach different demographic and age groups. So that's really perfect. And again, for the new members, you can see the breadth of the programs with the Creeks Division, from the very scientific to the education and outreach and everywhere in between. It's a lot, and certainly it showcases the spirit of the division, as well as the competence and professionalism, and of course, significantly Cameron's leadership. So, any other questions or comments? All right, Liz.
Madam Chair, I'll just say thank you, Liz. Like, as you guys recognize, she really leaves no stone unturned, and I just want to emphasize how really why our outreach and education is so important. I think you all know this, but for any members of the public watching, like most cities, our water pollution issues in Santa Barbara are urban runoff related pollution issues. And so in that sense, we're all, as residents here, part of the problem. And so that's where this kind of campaign that Liz has worked on in the last year, where all the solution to water pollution comes in. So, you know, by doing this kind of broad outreach and being able to try to figure out a way to communicate people, find people where they are, and educate them about their role in it. People usually want to take the right actions and step up to improve water quality. So it really is an important part of our program, and it's really critical to our success. So thanks, Liz, for all that you do.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, on to the last item, which is an action item, 2020 regular meeting schedule. And I think, Cameron, did you mean 2022?
It should be 2022 regular meeting schedule.
I think we all like to go backwards, but 2022 regular meeting schedule. And Cameron, if you could.
Yes, so this is just an opportunity. As I mentioned earlier, we try to lay out the calendar for the whole year so we can all do our planning around it. Our meetings are generally the third Wednesday of every month, with a couple of exceptions in the year, given especially the holiday time. So this is an opportunity for the committee to just review that and then officially adopt the proposed meeting schedule for 2022.
Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion to adopt this schedule.
I'm happy to make that motion to adopt the, try to see the 2022 calendar of the meeting schedule for the Creeks Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Penny. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there discussion? Everybody okay with these proposed dates? Okay, then we'll move to a roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Chair Gaskin?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
And Ms. Silva?
Yes.
Thank you.
So our meeting schedule is adopted, and you are encouraged to calendar it. And as we adjourn, I wish you all wonderful holiday season, and I appreciate serving with all of you and appreciate serving the city through the Creeks Division. So Cameron and staff, thank you very much. To our new members, thank you. And see you next year. The
Thank
meeting-
you. Happy holidays.
Thank
you,
you very
everybody.
much. Happy
Yep.
holidays.
Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.